Welcome to the Qualified Tutor Podcast. Here at QT, our mission is to provide teacher training for tutors. If you are a motivated tutor and you love to learn, the QT Podcast will inspire, motivate, and support you to improve your practice. Because tutoring is a small job that makes a big difference. Hello and welcome to our next instalment of the Qualified Tutor Podcast. Today I will be speaking to Mordechai, a final year student whose A-level exams have been disrupted by the recent coronavirus pandemic. We are going to be discussing lots of hopefully very relatable and relevant material pertaining to the cancellation of exams, the schedule that's now forced in, and what that does for a school leaver's aspirations. Welcome, Mordechai. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. Yeah, I mean, I'm as good as I'm going to get at home, but you know.
Yes. How's the lockdown been in your home? Have you found ways to keep yourself entertained and busy?
Yeah, so most of the time I find ways, I try to do new things and maybe watch some stuff or learn something new. And yeah, talk to friends. I find ways to keep busy, but obviously it's not the same. But yeah.
And what online e-learning resources have school provided you with so far?
So they've provided us, obviously we have live Zoom lessons for our religious studies in the morning, but for secular lessons, because they don't have much information on like when our replacement exams are or courses and everything, they haven't provided us yet or at all with any like material to learn ourselves, but we do anyway. We anyway had access to like Caboodle to help us with A levels and stuff like that. So,
And do you think that the online environment is conducive to your religious learning? Is that something that, do you think it's transferable to online, or do you think it's something that is not so able?
I think that it works over online. So, it works. We still concentrate. It's definitely harder to concentrate than in person, but it works. Not as well, but we manage.
Yeah. And have you been doing any tutoring yourself online?
No, unfortunately not. I'd like to, because a bit of extra money and stuff. But no, I haven't. No.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, that certainly those opportunities are arising more and more, and will do as schools remain closed. But it'd be great to jump in, Mordechai, into kind of what kind of student you think you are, and whether you ever have had a student, and if that's impacted the way you learn.
So I think I'm quite a committed student. Like even if the teacher, let's say, doesn't set so much homework or I don't know, stuff like that, then I'll do my bit to make sure I know what we've learned in class and everything, to make sure I know it properly and well, and put in. I also, like, for my GCSEs, let's say, I put in work instead of sort of building up like right at the end, get like panic revising. I'd work the whole way through year 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mm-hmm.
I did them a year early, year 10, but I put in work the whole way through, so I was well prepared for the GCSEs. So when they came in year 10, so I didn't need to like panic revise right at the end. So because I kept that work and going well all the way through.
Yeah, and do you think this was a sort of inherent trait of yours, or is this a trait that was helped by having a sort of additional support?
I think it was inherent. I didn't have that. I'd never really had that much additional support out of school, because it was not. My parents couldn't always pay for it, or I put in the work myself and I was getting along with it myself. So yeah, I think it was inherent, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so did you know kind of friends of yours at school who had tutors?
Yeah.
Was that something that happened in your environment?
Yeah. Quite a few of my friends, especially ones that were sort of struggling to keep up in class, and people like that, they had help out of school to help them keep up with everything, and make sure that they weren't falling behind.
Yeah, and so you saw that it did have a positive impact on them.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just such a rewarding experience to see that, either with yourself if you've had a tutor, or if you've never had one, seeing it with friends and colleagues of yours who really benefit from that. I hope in some way, certainly from the angle that QT is coming from, that inspires you to become a tutor yourself. I really think that there will be a kind of a large crop of tutors, perhaps accelerated by the recent situation, but who can go on and make tutoring part of the kind of side jobs that people have these days. And at university, Mordechai, and this will be an incredibly good way of keeping up money on the sides, keeping your own kind of teaching and learning going, because being a tutor yourself, explaining things to students is the best way of really understanding if you've learned the content yourself. But so, and obviously a very, as you said, committed student, engaged student, taking the time out of lessons to cover the content yourself. What do you think it is that you like most about the school environment? What does it give you that you most benefit from?
Well, I like a uniform environment where things are set and fixed. So, like everything's at a specific time, which is not great during this coronavirus because nothing's really fixed. But I like the school environment when it's fixed. You've got to do stuff, and that it just helps me concentrate. There's less things to worry about. Helps concentrate properly on what you're trying to learn, and it keeps you in line. Helps you learn better.
And do you think that the skills, the kind of the uniformity, this kind of structure that you get from school, do you think that's something that's been instilled in you so much that after school you'll be able to continue that, if that's the way that you
definitely I always strive to have that, because it just helps you. Well, firstly, it's healthy. It helps your mind stay in check. Helps you concentrate and everything when you're trying to learn new things or just revising over stuff. Just helps if you've got specific times and limits, and it really helps.
And kind of very much on that subject, how in the past kind of month and a half or so, how have you been keeping your mind active? I know you've probably been distracted by the confusion over whether your exams will be going ahead or not, but how have you been able to keep up the kind of the motivation mentally to work, to study, to learn?
So I have hobbies out of school. When I'm in school, I don't really have much time to do them. So I teach myself electronics and electronics programming and stuff like that. And so I've taken extra time in learning programming more stuff, learning how to use new programs like Adobe programs, just learning how to use them, designing stuff, making videos, just playing around, So learning how to use new programs, and building stuff, making sure my mind stays active and still learning new stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think there's a high value in learning other skills alongside your studies? How do you think that could kind of help?
So I'm doing maths, physics and chemistry in school for A levels, but I very much liked computer science, but due to the way the blocks fell out in school, it was between physics and computer science, and at that time I preferred physics, so I picked physics, but I still like programming and electronics and stuff like that. So I just keep, so now that I have much more time, I can keep doing that. So it's extra and building up extra skills, useful skills down the sidelines, and just also for fun, but it's building up extra useful skills that maybe I can use one day.
Yeah, and kind of, you mentioned earlier to me that you that this coming autumn, post, after leaving school, that you would be interested in moving to Israel. Now, I kind of have a two-part question here, if that's okay, which is A, how have those plans changed now? And B, were you planning on taking your programming skills to use in Israel?
So on the first point, I don't really know how much it's been affected because I don't really know what's going on. Like, well, first everything has to get back to normal here for normal flights and everything, and in Israel. So I really don't know the place. So to also answer the second part, the place where I was going was a religious studies college. So I wasn't going to use that programming straight away when I got there, but maybe afterwards I would have used stuff like that. But they don't know when they're going to open. Basically, it's very confusing and no one knows anything. So I don't really know what's going to happen. I just have to wait and see.
Yeah. And just you and kind of talking amongst your friends, how has that really affected you? I mean, I know the confusion causes you to lose focus, but are there any other kind of side effects of not knowing what's going to happen with your exams?
Yeah, so there's obviously the worry about, what marks I'm going to get. I don't know. I hoped to get quite high marks originally, but I don't have. I mean, I think my teachers will estimate me my marks quite well, so I should get the right marks or close to at least. But I'm nervous. I don't know what I'm going to get. And my friends similarly, like some of that, there's always, you can't always predict, like on the day that they could just be in, I don't know, a great mood or in a great learning mood and just, ace it, get a great mark in the paper. But these things remove that. And also some boys in my class, their teachers maybe underestimate them, or they've started putting in a lot more work recently and that hasn't been documented, or the teacher doesn't know about it. And they're worried that the teacher doesn't know that, and they think they would have got a much better mark than the teacher will award them. So yeah, there's quite a lot of uncertainty around that, especially for the boys who were just starting to put in a lot of work and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're very right. The Easter period is that crucial time where those who have studied well over the past few years are able to really consolidate and turn that good revision into very high marks. But it's also an absolutely essential time for those who maybe were slightly, behind and who needed that last step to really push themselves towards good grades. You completely missed that bit. And actually, speaking to past students, you'll find that, that's really the time that they accelerated forward. So, just looking kind of towards the advice that you can give towards students, perhaps students younger than you, but studying at home right now in a time like this. What tips do you have for students who are struggling with studying at home right now?
So I think you got to, like I said before, you got to fix yourself times that you're going to do that work, and you got to stick to them, because that gives, there's each day you get into a rhythm that between this and this time you're going to learn, you're going to figure out something new, learn how to do something new or learn some new material from your A level. And then make sure not to get distracted as well. Like, don't be doing something on the computer and then just, I need to watch something on YouTube and just go and watch it. You got to stay focused. You got to just make sure you stay with it.
Yeah, I guess that's for people of all ages. I guess probably not just students, but
definitely a lot of people fall for that. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. You just gotta make sure you keep it in line, and obviously you also got to give yourself some time to relax. You can't just be doing stuff the whole day, because you'll just get, you'll get depressed, or you don't have any time to relax. You get overloaded with new stuff. You gotta also set yourself a time to relax, a time when maybe you go and watch those YouTube videos afterwards, or go and watch a movie or something, but you got to make sure you keep it in check and not just fall into that.
Yeah. So really, I guess kind of trying to mimic maybe a school day as much as possible, where you're in classes and you're focusing, but also you get that time and break or after school. I think maybe that's, I'm sure you found this, perhaps it's the same for you, but what I found while working from home is that you know, those barriers are broken down. There's normal learning, your sort of education barriers are broken down. So normally you'd have your kind of your lessons set up, and you'd have time for each lesson, and then you'd know that there's 5 minutes in between, and then you have lunch break, or you might have morning break, and then in the afternoon after school or whatever, you have set times when you know that you have downtime, and that's really that's blurred when you're at home because there aren't those set times. So I think
it's much more difficult at home, definitely, and you could probably blur a bit because you're not at school. You still got to keep learning though, but you're not in school, but you still got to make sure that you keep it in check.
Yeah, exactly. And just looking kind of a little bit more towards kind of tutoring, what, if you're obviously someone who definitely the kind of student who would make a very, very competent and able tutor, someone who's interested in their subject, someone who understands the processes of learning and revision and even teaching, kind of the other way. What would you like to see in a tutoring course? You may not necessarily know kind of the ins and outs of the course that we are writing, but what would you like to see from a course that teaches you how to be a tutor?
First of all, the tutors should be like, if you're tutoring, like helping someone I think if the tutor's helping someone in a subject that maybe they're struggling in, then the tutor should maybe find out what they're learning in school or what they're doing, what they did that day or that week, and then go over that with them and make sure they know that, instead of moving on to a different topic and teaching them a different topic, and then they'll forget what they've learned in school that day. So sort of like for kids who are struggling in their subjects, revision, basically help them revise, make sure they know what they've done in school, so then the next day they can go back to school and be ready for the next bit. So to make sure that they know what they've learned in school, and that also keeps them in line with how the teacher's planning to teach them everything. And
exactly. I think being in tune with the students' day-to-day school content is incredibly important, and one thing actually that is often lost in the transmission from school to student to tutor is kind of that understanding of what the student has been doing in school, because a tutor has 101 things in their head that they could teach a student in, but they if it's not continuous with what the child's been doing at school, then exactly as you're right, it's fragmented, it's stilted, and it actually can make the child kind of build up a resistance to what they're learning because they're so thrown by it. Exactly. So kind of really on the very, very same theme as that, and perhaps you kind of answered this already, what do you see is the point of a tutor? Why do students have tutors?
So I think I think it should be for students who are struggling, like maybe they're struggling, they're falling behind, or maybe they didn't put in enough work before and now they're struggling to catch up. And for people like that, or if the school, obviously if the school don't offer a certain subject, then they just do it out of school with a tutor. So mainly I think it should be for students who are struggling in school.
Yeah, that's a really nice point there that you picked up on, actually, is that a tutor is someone who provides extra teaching facilities for that school, essentially. Teaching Spanish, for example, if the school doesn't do Spanish. That's a really nice point to pick up on. So I just on that kind of really, really nice point there, perhaps again this leads us on, this is brilliant kind of continuity of conversation, Mordechai, but what subjects do you see yourself being able to tutor, and why those subjects?
So I think I'd be able to tutor, and I'd like to tutor actually chemistry because I enjoy it a lot. I know it quite well, and just it almost like the A level just shows you how, like, maybe on a microscopic level, but how everything works, and I don't know, it just gives you like extra depth. So also teaching it will help me understand it better and know it better. So, and I enjoy it. So I'd like to teach chemistry. Then, as I mentioned before, I have hobbies of like computing and programming and building stuff, electronics. So maybe some of that. Although that's not really electronics building and stuff like that. It's not really a GCSE, but there are some like programming and media GCSEs and qualifications. So maybe that. And probably I'd also like maths because I enjoy maths, not as much as chemistry, but I like numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't want to teach physics because I've got a bit bored of it.
Well, that is, please, Mordechai, please don't ever tutor a student if you're bored of that subject. That's my one piece of advice to you is only tutor what you're very much just interested in yourself. But yeah, no, very good. I mean, those are absolutely core tutoring subjects. Obviously, maths and English are incredibly important because they're crucial subjects, but also there's a huge demand for science tutoring. So I'm sure you'll find yourself kind of lots and lots of that work. But absolutely wonderful to chat to you, Mordechai. I'm sure there's much more that you could add to this, but it's really very good, and I mean that, to talk to someone who is in the situation that we're in. There's plenty of people writing blogs, filming videos, talking about this situation as if they were a student, but really, we can't understand the kind of stress that's put on you, trying to complete your A-levels, trying to leave school, trying to start out in the world, and that's been kind of taken out from under your feet. So thank you very much for finding time.
Thank you for having me.
That's not a problem at all. Just looking ahead to next time, we will be speaking to Susanna Hardiman from Action Tutoring, who hopefully will be giving us a really, really good insight into how e-learning can be enhanced to improve the more disadvantaged students, kind of the work that Action Tutoring has been doing in this period and before, and what tutors who are looking to work with Action Tutoring can expect from their training period and what is expected of them. But the advice that we get there will be just as key as kind of the advice that we got today. So thank you once again, Mordechai, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Qualified Tutor Podcast, where tutors share their expertise to support the tutoring community. We're always looking for motivated tutors to interview on the show. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, get in touch at podcast@qualifiedtutor.org. We'd love to learn from you.